The United Nations Security Council vote on whether to impose an arms embargo on South Sudan has failed to go through. Diplomats had anticipated that the US-led measure will fail, despite warnings by the UN Secretary General that the new country is on the verge of possible genocide. The United States, backed by Britain and France, has argued that cutting off the arms flow is urgently needed to minimize the impact of any atrocities in the war-torn country. Russia, China, Japan, Malaysia, Venezuela, and more importantly, the three African Council members, Angola, Egypt, and Senegal, had all expressed serious reservations on the said embargo. And let's get you more now on that situation. CCTV's Nick Harper is standing by for us in New York. Nick, what's been said, though, at the United Nations following this failed vote on imposing an arms embargo on South Sudan?
Well, the United States, who put forward this resolution, had the most to say on this matter. There was disappointment from the US. The fact that this resolution only managed to gather 7 votes in favour, 8 abstentions. It would have needed 9 votes in favour for this to pass. And it would have meant an arms embargo, but also targeted sanctions against 3 individuals in the country, including the opposition leader Riek Machar, currently in South Africa. Well, the United States representative to the United Nations, Samantha Power, said that this was meant to show the architects of mass atrocities that they would face consequences, that it was meant to end impunity. And she said to all of the 8 abstaining members that history is going to be a very harsh judge of your decisions. She also talked about the fact that over the last week we've heard from not just the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, but also his special envoy on genocide, giving warnings of potential mass atrocities and genocide in South Sudan. She said, though, they were red flashing lights and the abstainees should have acted. Russia, on the other hand, they voted against. The Russian ambassador saying that it was a pointless expression of sanctions and it was a short-sighted policy. And South Sudan's representative, who was there for the vote, didn't get a vote but managed to speak afterwards, said that tabling this resolution had been unfortunate, that it was simply a way of punishing the government and that an arms embargo would have weakened the government's position within the country.
Well, it does remain rather politically fragile there in South Sudan. So what other options is the UN Security Council likely to explore, though, to bring stability to South Sudan?
Well, the United States feels that the UN is quite simply running out of options, that the arms embargo was going to be one of the main things that could have been brought against the country. There have been sets of targeted sanctions against individuals. That's something that the UN has been able to agree on in the past, targeting certain individuals they feel are standing in the way of the peace process. But we heard from the 3 African countries who abstained, Senegal, Nigeria and Egypt. Angola was saying in that the sanctions must not be the priority, but rather the focus should now be on the political dialogue. That was something that was echoed by Egypt and Senegal. And in many ways, that is now the feeling amongst many of those Security Council members, that really more must be done to try and urge the leaders within the country to get back to the negotiating table, to re-enter into a dialogue that can form a lasting peace in the country, rather than trying to find these piecemeal solutions of imposing arms embargoes or extra sanctions on people in the country.
Right, Nick Harper for us there in New York.